everybody. Welcome to the Secret Sauce series brought to you by your good friends at Fistful of Talent and by Outmatch. Outmatch handles talent selection and employee development solutions. Check them out for get more data on your hiring process. We're joined today by Tim Sackett, president of HRU Technical Resources and a fellow contributor at FOT. Good morning, Tim.
Hey, RJ, what's going on?
Hey, man, we're having a great day. Spring has sprung. We've got a brand new series here at FOT called The Secret Sauce.
I love it.
You are guest number one.
All right.
Plan for it is to bring really smart people together, get them to talk on the phone a little bit about a talent topic. Today we've got data on the agenda.
So do you want me to go get a smart person and bring them back in, or
No, you're perfectly fine. There's two smart people I called right before you were
well played.
No, that's perfectly false. I know Tim's really smart. All the readers at FOT and the Tim Sackett Project know Tim's smart, but I'm going to let you break it down for us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Tim.
Well, I run an IT engineering staffing firm, so just in case your company needs any of those folks, I can my recruiters can definitely fill those needs for you. You can just Google Tim Sackett. I'm like the first 10 pages. There's also a truck driver chaplain named Tim Sackett that shows up once in a while. I'm not him. I don't go around a truck stops and preach the word of gospel. But no, yeah, it's. Go ahead. Yeah. I might be if this whole staffing thing doesn't work out for me. So.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Tim's been a long-time writer and contributor at Fistful of Talent, and also very active throughout the HR space. What I like most about Tim is he's got both in-house, in-shop kind of HR experience at some big companies. He's also worked on the third-party recruiting side of the house. Very important to me, because he understands kind of both sides of the desk, and that's why I wanted to get him involved today. Topic for the day is kind of how to use data for the first time, how to introduce data. HR has been a soft science for years and years, and there's a lot of talk out there about HR analytics, HR data, big data, how to use it. It's funny because when you talk with HR practitioners, they want to understand how to use data to make their jobs better, but then sometimes they bump up against it when they start to introduce it to the business leaders that they support. Mm-hmm. Tim, talk to us about times in your past where you tried to bring data to the table for the first time and how that's been received and how you've worked through it.
I learned early on. My first HR job, I was a SHRM guy and got into, got my SPHR and the whole deal, right? So you think that's kind of the gospel of everything. And I remember going in and using turnover data and the cost of turnover, and going into some execs and basically saying, hey, if we can do this, we could save, and I think my number was like $3 million or some outrageous soft HR math number, right? And it was based on the 1.5 times salary of the people we lost. And I had all these spreadsheets that I thought was hard data, but it all went back to this 1.5 times the salary. No executive I met with believed that was even close. And so instantly I was blown out of the water. They wouldn't listen to a thing I had to say. Thus, the whole reason I was going there was because I'm trying to change some processes, try to bring in some new technology, do some new things. But I had to show them I'm going to have this savings, and that's why we can afford to do this. And they didn't believe me at all, right? They just completely were like, "You're full of crap. Like, there's no way our turnover cost was $3 million. Blah blah blah."
When you pitched the $3 million number, did you do it in the Dr. Evil voice? That would have been awesome.
1 million. We're going to save $3 million.
Talk to me about how that evolved. How did you go from SHRM pin wearing Tim Sackett using a very generic and unbelievable number? How did you get some credibility?
Well, so the next thing I did, right, the next time that something like that came up, because I still think that's a very valuable way for HR people and talent acquisition people to get money, right? Because we never have enough budget money to get the tools we want. And so this turnover number is real. It is real, but we have to come up to an agreement of what that is. So the next organization I was in that I tried that, before I went to any executive, I went to finance, to the guy that actually ran the budgets for our executives. And I asked him, like, what do you think it costs, right? Like, realistically, give me a number. I don't care what number you give me, just what number would you think if you lost, and he had a bunch of accountants on his team, right, and finance people. I said, so if you lost Mary over there and you had to replace her, how much do you think it would truly cost the organization? And we were talking about some things, asking me what it costs to run an ad and blah, 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 and coming up with this stuff. And we came up with $10,000. Cost $10,000 to replace a professional person. And I'm like, all right, I can live with that. How many people did we lose last year in the organization? He's like, 450. I said, so realistically, $450,000 it cost us for turnover in the organization. So if I could reduce our turnover by 10%, that's worth $45,000. Would you agree to that? Yep. And so that we went into the executives and boom, 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 laid it out. And they were like, yeah, go ahead, buy it. Do what you got to do. It never had an issue because you lined them up, right?
Tim, it's funny when you have that first conversation. I remember because I did something real similar, right, where I threw out an HR type number, got kind of sort of laughed at. And then I went back and I just talked to a guy, right, a guy I know. We talk in the mornings when we have coffee. He's in finance. I'm in HR. We'd never really talked very much. And I just said, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. And I was amazed. He kind of set aside everything he had for the morning. And he gave me about 20 or 30 minutes. And we really dug into, all right, what's the best way to do this? And just to come up with a usable number.
Yeah.
Right down to the penny? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right? Was it good? Was it good and better than anything we had before? It sure was. And then, like you said, you walk in with a little bit more credibility to the rest of the team, and they're like, all right, I understand that that's not down to the penny, but it's a pretty good number, and it's better than nothing, which is what we've had. And when you're coming from kind of, again, 0 to 1, and you're just trying to come up with something, that credibility you get from partnering up with a finance leader is really important.
Well, and realistically, the other thing I see that a lot of HR pros and leaders, how they fail when they start to go down this path of entry and analytics is they're too afraid to sign themselves up for savings or for a number, right? Like, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to drop turnover by 10%. And they're like, oh God, what if we only drop by 7 and blah, blah, blah. And I go, look, do you know the sales guys over there that say that they're going to increase revenue by 20% every single year and they never hit their targets and they still have their jobs? Like, calm down. Like, this is your projection. You're trying to get there. If you don't get it, you're not going to get fired. Like, you might, but most organizations don't work that way.
No, most of us aren't in the Jack Welch GE 1980 days. And you're exactly right, because then the argument is, okay, we reduced it 7 instead of 10. Here's how we got to 7. Here's what we learned, right? And I mean, I've sat up in front of executive committee presentations before, and I'm like, hey, remember when I was here a year ago and I had a great plan? Well, we realized it wasn't the greatest plan. It was a bad plan. We executed it perfectly. We executed a bad plan perfectly. Here's how we're going to get a little smarter. I mean, I've literally used that term before in a meeting. Everybody up to the CEO laughs, and then you move on, right? Because we're all just trying to figure it out. The value and the plus side here is that they'd rather you try to do the exercise.
Yeah.
I'd rather you try to apply some level of analytics so you're part of the business to get better just because like they're trying to do, right? The one thing about every projection, the minute you make it, it's wrong. You know that. The only thing you know about that projection is it's wrong.
It's an educated guess, right? Yeah.
That's right.
I would
go
ahead.
What advice do you have for that HR practitioner out there, right? They're in an HR shop. They might be in talent acquisition. They might be in more of a generalist or leadership role. They've got some good people. They've done some good things. They've cleaned up some processes, and now it's time. It's time to try to really take a harder look at their part of the business. But they don't want to be stupid. What advice do you have for that guy or girl out there who's just trying to be a little smarter on day one?
You can look really smart by using competitive data. Our executives love it, and they don't get a lot of it. So anytime you go to them, and RJ, you work for is McCarthy Building, right?
Right.
What's your main competitor?
We got a couple nationally, but let's say there's a company out there called Turner.
So if you go to your executives right now and say, look, I got some stuff from Turner. I talked with one of their HR people. They shared some numbers with me. Your executives will want to see you instantly. You automatically will bump anything on their schedule, and they will come sit with us. We want to talk to you. What numbers do you have from them? What are they doing over there? And so I always tell HR people, if you instantly want to make a difference, go out and try to uncover some of this competitive data. And sometimes you even get it from in talent acquisition, we get it all the time, because I'm talking to the head of or a director within a competitor of one of my clients that I'm working with, and they're like, yeah, it looks like we're not going to hit our design that we're supposed to for this time, and so it's going to push our product launch back in 3 months, and people are losing their jobs, and I'm kind of scared. I want to get out of there. holy crap, like that's a huge internal piece of knowledge that my competitor wants to have, or that hiring manager or the executives want to have. And we don't think of that. We always just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, so then you're going like, we have this great candidate and he's really interested, and and we never tell them like this big piece of news because we don't think of that. But even on like just getting like data and analytics from your competition, as HR pros, like if you call the HR person over at Turner, more than likely he's going to talk to you. You're going to share some stuff. You're not sharing inside tips and secrets. He's going to say, yeah, here's how we measure turnover, and here's why. Here's how we measure quality of hire. And you're going to be able to, like, all of a sudden, be able to go to your teams and say, look, we're doing the exact same thing that's industry standard. It's the same thing Turner does. It's the same thing this company does. And people will listen, right? They listen to that versus, well, sure, this is kind of the educated way, or this is what I was taught in school. It tends not to have the same oomph as coming from a competitive data standpoint.
No, that's a great point, and you're exactly right. Other than the most really sophisticated HR shops out there, most of us are still trying to educate business leaders on how they want to work with us and what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And we might be the first really great HR person that they've seen. But that means that we're the only ones. They have no parallels. They have no comparison. Yeah. If you're able to come to them and say, hey, I know we're beating our head up against the wall because we're at a 12% attrition rate. When I talked to 4 of our competitors last week, and they're at 16, 17, and they're kind of sort of happy with that. So while we think we can do better than 12, we need to keep this thing in perspective, right? And just providing that comparative data to your business leaders makes them smarter about how to work with HR. Mm-hmm. Makes them smarter about their position in the marketplace. You did make one point that I do want to hit on.
Yeah.
It's not really hard data. It's that anecdotal competitive intelligence that I still call data.
Yeah.
It's still information about what's going on in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. When you can feed that up to your business leaders or your business development team, like, hey, I was just had a quick conversation with a guy over at ABC company. He's looking to make a move, right? Because they didn't land that one project. The pipeline, which was really strong, is starting to struggle, and they're having a little trouble delivering on that. That is like gold, baby. That is really good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
One, your leaders want to hear about that because it makes them feel a little better that they're knocking it out of the park. But 2, it's going to drive some potential tactical and strategic decisions in how they're approaching their part of the marketplace.
Oh my!
It shows them how connected you are.
I was in campus recruitment for about a year for a company, and I would go and like literally it's week after week after week, campus, Holiday Inn Express, 6-pack of beer, a pizza, like every day, right? You just want to shoot yourself, but you would come up with so much great information because these campus recruiters they're on there hiring for the future. And so like, you'd show up in one city and like their team is there and they're like, oh my gosh, they're growing crazy. They're trying to, because that they're expanding in that area. Right. And then you go to some other area and they're like, people are sitting there. They're like, yeah, we don't have any openings. Like there's just little things you can pick up on where you're like going, hey, something's going on in the Northwest with this, because they're going crazy over there,
Yeah, that's great. Hey, quick reset. We'll have one more question. Secret Sauce series brought to you by our friends at Fistful of Talent and Outmatch, helping out with employee development and assessment. Here with Tim Sackett, president of HRU Technical Resources. If you have some contract or direct staff, certainly give him a call. I'll give him a shout. He came in today. He's the 23rd smartest guy I know. But I do have one more quick question for Tim. Tim, when you were either in a corporate HR shop or on the third-party side of the house now, what's a metric that you do pay some attention to? What is one thing that you feel like does kind of guide at least how you manage or how you lead, or at least just something you kind of keep on your dashboard?
Well, from a talent analytics standpoint, I always paid attention to my funnel, which was, top side of the funnel, how many candidates are we getting in? Some of that is quality of hire stuff. Some of that is just overall, if I have this many candidates coming in and that's leading to this many interviews, to this many hires, like, in by recruiter, by organization, I wanted to see all of this stuff because it leads all your decision making down the road. Like, hey, we're just not getting enough candidates into the funnel. Now I have employment branding, I have employment automation, I have attraction, I have all these, marketing, I have all this stuff I have to do. if I'm not getting my recruiters to pass on enough people, right? Now I have like, hey, what's going on here? I have productivity issues. So for me, it was always about that talent acquisition funnel, and it works on both, right? It worked on the corporate side, it works on the third party side, and it turns out if you actually put screen candidates in front of hiring managers, they actually hire people.
Yeah, that's if you take no other insight out of today's video chat. Know that candidate activity is really a good driver for hiring activity.
Turns out.
Funny how that works. And so, recruiting is a production business for sure. From a forecasting perspective, one of the metrics that we'll take a look at a lot, right, is just revenue per head or profit per head. We're going to get that understanding from a forecasting perspective. We've got a pretty long sales cycle after we sell before that revenue hits, so we're able to kind of get a look ahead and see where we're at from a forecasting perspective. That's a little bit more scientific than, hey, it depends upon sales. And when you ask how many people you're going to hire, a little different than if you're making widgets. We're more of a service or consulting business. But if you're on a manufacturing, it's more of a flow business, and you can kind of figure that out.
I think long-term health too. When you take a look at revenue per head, it's something that pops up. Like I've been in organizations where we felt pretty good about it, and then you just start this kind of organic growing yourself, but the revenue isn't necessarily growing as fast as your headcount is growing, and all of a sudden you take a look at it and go, wait a minute, why are we continuing to do this? Right? We're actually getting less out of our people than what we were before. So another good one to take a look at.
Well, and from a corporate HR perspective, right, I'm overhead, right? And so there's always this balance between infrastructure and right, having an infrastructure that allows you to grow versus having overhead, which is starting to suck away profit. You got to find that balance.
Yeah.
We're an employee-owned firm, so it's really important to us to make sure to manage that. It's a good balance, but you've got to be able to keep those two things in mind. And to your point, revenue per head allows you to do that.
Yeah, cool.
Hey, Tim, I want to thank so much for coming on today. Again, this is the Secret Sauce series brought to you by Fistful of Talent and our folks and our friends at Outmatch. Please check them out. Great organization. I want to thank them for letting us come together today. Tim, great chat. You did fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Look forward to it. Look forward to seeing it on FOT and look forward to seeing all the other Secret Sauce episodes to come.
Thanks, man.
See ya.